Hello guys, welcome back to our channel Knowledge Graspers. Today we are going to study Crossing the Bar written by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Let's start. Lord Alfred Tennyson was one of the greatest Victorian poets, born in England in 1809. He was the firm believer of God. He wrote both short and long works, but much of his poetry had allusions or was based on classical mythology as well as theme of isolation and deep personal thought and feelings. This poem was written in 1889, that is 3 years before he died. The poem describes his placid and accepting attitude towards death. The poem is all about accepting and embracing death rather than fearing the dark unknown. The poet uses the metaphor of a voyage at sea to describe the journey from life to death. Now, let's start the poem. Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me, and may there be no mourning of the bar when I put out to sea. The poem begins with the speaker describing the atmosphere. The poet refers to the sunset and evening star that appears in the sky early. As the sun sets, the light of the evening star, that is, the planet Venus, rises to act as a beacon light for the mariners. He says that he hears a clear call for him to start his voyage to the unknown. He hopes that when he starts his voyage, his ship will clear the sandbar smoothly. Here, the poet uses his famous metaphor of crossing the bar, describing death as an act of passing beyond life. The poet is old and he knows that his life is about to end. There is a clear call of death for him. His only wish is that when his journey to the next world starts, he will have no cares and anxieties. In other words, he wants to face his death calmly. Now, let's start the second stanza. But such a tide as moving seems asleep, too full for sound and foam, when that which drew from out the boundless deep turns again home. The poet wishes that when he put out to sea, that is, when he dies, let it be a ride which seems asleep as it moves. The speaker wants his death to be smooth like a calm sea wave, which is too full for sound and foam. The speaker hopes that his death will be silent, smooth, and quick. He wants to be free from doubts and fears, that is, sounds and forms. Like many other men of his age, Tennyson too was very troubled by the ideas of science which shook the very foundation of religion, that is, Christianity. Here in the poem, he wishes to die with his faith intact. He wants to die without any fear or doubt. The speaker refers to the tide as the one which drew out the boundless deep turns again home. This suggests the speaker's soul returning to eternity, just as the tide returns to the depth of the ocean silently. The poet wants to convey that the journey from life to death is just a part of cycle of birth and death. Now let's start the third stanza. To light an evening bell, and after that the dark, and may there be no sadness of farewell when I embark. In the third stanza, the speaker announces the close of the day as he hears the evening bell, which will be followed by the darkness. He knows that darkness will follow the twilight, that is, death is sure to follow old age. There is no escape from the darkness, that is, death. When he starts his journey, he does not wish to see any sad parting scenes. The speaker has reached the fag end of his life and he hopes for the cheerful departure one with no sadness of farewell when he embarks on the new journey. The speaker wants to die peacefully in the state of grace as so to be able to meet his Lord. In the other words, he wants to remain happy at the time of death. He does not want himself and others to be unhappy. He does not consider death bad and cruel. Death is in fact a gateway through which one passes to enter the next world, so death should be welcomed cheerfully. Here comes the last stanza. For those from out of born of time and place, the flood may bear me far. I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar. He says that he will be beyond the boundaries of time and place, and the flood of death will carry him far away. This is going beyond the reach of this world. The speaker suggests that there is a place beyond our time and space where he hopes to go after his death. We are thus acquainted with the poet's belief in afterlife. The speaker's departure from life isn't really a departure at all. He is leaving the world to which he never really belonged and is finally returning to the perfect abode. The soul's true home is not really the bourne of time and place, but rather the open ocean beyond the bar. In the other words, when the poet has crossed the boundary that divides his life from the next, he hopes to see God face to face. He calls God his pilot because God guides men through life and death. After death, the soul of the dead makes God who takes charge of it, just as a pilot escorts vessels going out and guides those coming in. Now I am going to tell you the critical analysis of Crossing the Bar. Crossing the Bar by Alfred Lord Tennyson is a very symbolical poem which tells the readers to accept death very calmly and to be free of any paranoia. Tennyson had unshakable faith in the idea of religion, which is evident by his strong belief in death and afterlife, and about the idea of going to heaven. He wants to convey the message that death is inevitable and something which is inescapable. As soon as the person is born, the clock of his life starts ticking, and each day he is inclining closer towards death. He wants the readers to accept death calmly and wholeheartedly. Death is the only gateway through which one can reunite with God, the pilot of their life, one who had been with them and protected them throughout their life. He tells the readers to leave everything in the hands of the God, and he wants to convey the message that if a person has lived a good and ethical life, he need not worry about death, as the person is sure to go to be reunited with God and live with him eternally. Message of the poem: Death is not the end. It is simply walking out of the physical form and into the spirit realm, which is our true home. It is going back home. Thank you guys. If you like our video, please like, share and subscribe.